Hey, hi friends, welcome back to Bhau-Automation Lab once again. In the previous session, we have learned how to add multiple test cases in our test class, Swag Lab login test. Okay, so there is no more hard-coded XPaths and anything here, but still we have to implement lots of things in this our framework. So for example, we are still hard-coding our username, still we are hard-coding our password here. Also, we are hard-coding our expected results, strings and everything. So how to take this from the any other file so that it should not be shown to the user in our test itself. Okay, so how to do that practically? Let's see this in this lecture. Okay, so the approach here is we have like in our Appium TDD framework, we have like a best test, login page objects and everything, right? So this is our test data, for example, right? So standard username, passwords, invalid username, invalid password, everything. This is our the test data. So how to get this test data? So simply we can get this from the config.file or anything like this config.properties files or like this, right? But here in this our TDD framework, we are like using one extra approach here. For example, we are reading this data from the JSON file only. Okay, so how to you create that JSON file and how to get that data from the JSON file, we'll learn here practically. So watch this video very carefully in the end. You will learn the best concept in the TDD framework. Okay, so I'll just create a one folder in this resource package. So I'll create one folder here. Let's say test data and test data. Okay, and inside that I'll create a okay. I think I'll create a file. So let's create a folder here. New, let's say folder and create test data folder. Inside this folder, let's create a one file name with we currently doing the automation for this login test file, right? And we have two test cases here. So create a login.json file. Okay, here we go. We have this type of syntax here, JSON dot like this icon should become here. Okay, if it is not coming before adding any JSON, let's just go to the your Eclipse marketplace. Okay, and whatever editor you are using. So we have to add this one JSON plugin to use this JSON file in our editor. Okay, so how to add that? So simply go to your Eclipse marketplace. Okay, and in here just search for the JSON. Okay, so this is the JSON editor plugin 1.2, which is currently available in my Eclipse. So I have installed this one. So you have to install this plugin before starting any work with JSON, right? So now let's go to the our JSON file and create a one JSON here, simple JSON. So how to create that? The syntax here is open curly bracket. After that, you can just add the whatever requirement you have. For example, in our test case, we have requirement for two test cases like uh, invalid username. For example, here invalid swag lab login invalid username, right? And the swag lab login valid username and password. So two test data we required, right? So I will create a two test data here. As per the your requirement and your test case, you can create the file here. Okay, as I already mentioned in the previous sessions, you how to create this all the test cases for invalid password, both are blank or all this whatever test cases we have written in manual for the login process, you have to create all these test cases. For example purpose, I have added these two test cases. Okay, so you can practice for more test cases as well. As per your test case, you have to create here a test data. For example, first test case is our first test case is login invalid username. So I'll create an invalid username. Invalid, let's say username, user. So syntax here is invalid user. After that colon, and then let's create an open bracket here. And inside that, let's pass a username. User name, and username should be passed as a invalid username. So I'll pass the current invalid username here, which is we have passed in our test case. I'll open this test case and we have passed the standard username, which is invalid, right? So current username in Swagler demo is, let's open our app. So correct username is standard user, right? So we are pass here standard username, which is invalid, right? So I'll just pass it right here as an invalid username, standard username, right? After that, let's give comma one and pass here one more string as let's say password, which is not required here, but for your understanding purpose, I'll just adding here. So you can pass correct password as well, like let's say secret, which is not required in our test case, but I'm adding here for your understanding purpose how to we are defining the secret data so that you can understand this JSON format correctly. So I'll just complete this one test data file here. Okay, and just give the comma here, and after that, let's copy this same process for the valid username. Okay, so here invalid username. So I will pass here for the valid user and password and password. Okay, so this is for valid username, and password. So valid username is, let's copy that valid username from our Swag Lab demo here. Valid username standard user. So I'll just pass it here, and this is our correct password, right? So after that, let's complete this bracket here, which is we have open for here, right? And after that, let's complete main bracket as well. Just save this JSON, and we have created the test data for our login, invalid username, and login, valid username, and valid password. Both test data we have created. Control Shift F so that it will get formatted. We not require this data because as we are not passing the password here, but still we are giving this because for your understanding purpose. Okay, so we have written this. We have created our JSON file here. Perfect. Now let's check how to call this, get this data or call this data from our JSON test data properties file into our test cases. So for that, I will create a one more annotation here in our test class. For whenever you create a multiple test cases, you have to just call this like for the login, for login, for any other like if you created another class for any another model, for example here products model or any another order after login. So you have to create this before class and before method as per their objects and their test data file. So I'll creating this here. Let's say public void, let's say before class. Okay, I'm creating one annotation, and here I'm just passing light at the rate before class as an annotation. Okay, just import it here. Don't pass slide like this. Import before class and just remove it from here. Okay, and in this we just need to get the data from this JSON file. So how to get that data? Before that, we have to add one pom.x in our pom.xml. We have to add this one dependency. Okay, org.json. So how to check that? Go to the Maven repository. Okay, and here we'll just type Maven repository, and inside that Maven repository, let's just search for JSON. Okay, so this is JSON in Java. We have to add this dependency, which is like 3.0.3 is current. Whatever current is there, we just copy this dependency from here and add it here, which is we have added latest dependency. Okay, after that, go to the our before class method again and just type here one code. For example, first of all, let's set this file path for our JSON file. Okay, so I'll just creating file path for this. So here, let's type string JSON path is equal to, let's say I'll pass. So this is the folder. We are not directly hard coded this file like this. Okay, So what happened whenever I deployed this project on any other machine, this path will not found there, right? I have already explained multiple times this concept to you guys, right? This path will be not available on different files. You can give the path like this, but to avoid this, the we can do we can't hard coded that file. We just like create a system dot get property method. Okay, and inside that property we have just pass user directory, user.dir. So user directory. So it will automatically redirect till this path, right? After that we have src test and resource folder, right? So let's copy this. It will automatically get this folder once it reach to the uh, our project path, right? So src, inside that let's pass test. After that test, there is a resource resources, and after that resources we have test data folder, test underscore data, and inside that we have login.json file. So this is our test data file path, right? So we have given correct user path here. So after that, if you deploy this project on anywhere, it will not impacting to our path. Now let's read this file. So how to read that file? To read that file, let's create one try, and inside that try, let's pass file reader. Okay, file reader from Java IO. Reader is equal to new file reader, and let's pass this file there, JSON path or file path, whatever. Okay, now let's open bracket this one here, add this stored declaration, file not found exception and IO exception, and inside that let's pass JSON tokener. Okay, just remember these things. If you have to not write this always and always. Okay, so just remember these things for one time only. Token, JSON tokener. Inside that tokener is equal to, let's say, new create object of this JSON tokener. Okay, and here we pass this reader to read this file. Okay, now let's create a global object of our JSON file. So I'll create here, let's say, public static. Okay, and let's create like JSON object, JSON object, let's say login data. Okay, we have created that one. Now let's pass this login data, which is we have created as a JSON object, is equal to new JSON object, and we'll pass here token. Okay, and here let's catch this exception if you get any exception here. So let's catch exception E. Okay, let's say E dot print text as. Now whenever we run this script, it will go to the before class. Okay, and after before class, it will read this JSON file, and inside that JSON file, it will to store that data as a login data. For example, here in JSON file. So how to pass this? But we have read this JSON file in our let's say login test, right? But how to pass this in our test cases? So let's understand that concept as well. Now we are here. We are passing. I'll just remove this comment out. Here we are passing that hard coded value, right? In the before method, we have created slow. Let's create here. And let's print the name of method as well here. I'll just add this. We have missed this in last lecture. Method. Let's say method. Just import this method from here. And here, let's say system.out.println method dot, let's say, get name. And here we can pass, let's say, string script running. Start running. Okay, so let's put this here. Okay, and here we have hard coded value like user standard username. Okay, so I want to get that data from JSON file right now. This data standard username for the invalid username. Okay, so for that, let's pass here JSON object. Okay, and this JSON object, let's say invalid username. I'll just define invalid. You can say invalid valid username name is equal to, now we have created that login data as a JSON object, right? So just pass that login data dot, let's say, get JSON as a string key. So which key we are required to take from that? So here we have to pass the JSON object, right? So here, what is the object here? This is invalid user. This is our JSON object. Okay, so I'll just pass it this here, invalid username. Now it's a invalid user, right? So here we'll just change the name. Don't pass direct invalid user name here. Just take JSON object as an invalid user. Here we have invalid user, right? So let's take invalid user as this one here. Now let's create a string for this. So string, and now here pass invalid full string. For example, here invalid user. So here let's pass invalid user name. And inside that invalid user name, take from this invalid user name dot get string. Okay, and here we pass the string, that username. Okay, and now this invalid username, let's pass it here. Remove this hard coded from here, just pass it. Let's understand what we have done till time. Okay, so we have set up this JSON file with this path, okay, which is not hard coded, which is a global path, and we have read this JSON file, which is we have created here on this path, right, using tokener, and we have created one JSON object, okay, which is we are using globally, and through that tokener we are new object created, and through that login object we are accessing that data from this login JSON. Okay, so using login JSON object, okay, we are taking invalid username as object, get JSON object, which is here, right? Login JSON object. Inside that login JSON object, we require to get one string, okay, which is username. Okay, so here we are getting string invalid username, invalid using this object, get the string, which string? Username. So here is this string username. So it will automatically return this value from this user string. Yeah, hope you understand. This is a little tricky thing, but if you practice, you can get understand. It is very easily. It's not that much of difficult, but little tricky. So understand this very carefully, right? So using JSON object, we are getting that value from this user name string JSON. So here is the JSON username, and we will get that string as a return type, and it will store in this invalid username, and it will automatically pass whenever we want to enter the login user name. Okay, very simple. Now, same way we require to take this data for login, valid user and valid password as well. So we not required to write this again. Just copy paste and observe what changes I am doing. so that you can understand this concept very easily. Okay, so I'll just change to valid username. Okay, and what is the valid username JSON object here? So valid username is valid username and password. This is our JSON object, right? I'll just pass it here. Now take this valid username from string and let's pass here valid user name from this object and taking as a username. This is the string here. Let's check. Yeah, same string is there, username. So I'll get username as a string. And now I'll just pass this valid username, which is stored in this and here. Same way, take this for the valid password as well. I'll just copy and paste it here and just change to valid user password. Password. Okay, and change this string from the JSON object as a password. Okay, now let's pass this password here. Okay, username we have already passed, right? Username. So now you can see here, there is no more hard-coded value like a username, user password, or anything in our script, right? So now let's run this program and see whether we are able to execute this program properly or not. Okay, so here we go. We have Appium server. This is our Swag Live demo app. And whether we are able to get that test data from JSON file or not. So its first test is running. It's enter wrong user name and test. It's clear it. Enter username, its password, and here we go. We have successfully logged in our Swag Live demo app, and we are able to take that data from our JSON file, right? So that's it in this lecture. We have learned the very interesting concept to take the test data from the JSON file in our TDD framework. Okay, in next chapter, let's run how to get this data from our expected result data also from any another file, because now we have everything is like nothing is hard coded here apart from this expected result in this, right? So let's meet in next chapter. Till time, have a great day. Bye bye. Take care.